I recently did a video on the Wrocław Panthers and their import list for the 2024 class. During that list, I found Dušan Novaković, who quickly caught my eye as one of my favourite defensive ends in Europe quite quickly. The Panthers have always had a very successful scouting network when it comes to recruiting their players. Kavante Turpin came in, was very good, and then went to USFL, won MVP, and then went to the Dallas Cowboys. Keanu Ebanks went over there and then became an all-star, went on to play in the CFL, and has now recently returned to the team. Tony Tate has just went to Edmonton Elks in the CFL as a receiver, so they have a lot of players that come to them and find a lot of success. Dušan, I think, is one of the most underrated. He only played 4 games in 2022, went to the Broncos in the Swiss League, and has now returned to the Wrocław Panthers this year. Now, Dušan is actually one of the most interesting players in Europe anyway. He's a bobsledder for the Serbian team and has competed in European competition. He drives motorbikes and has overall just competed in a bunch of different athletics. And that translates really, really well to the football field. His explosiveness off the snap is excellent, one of the best in Europe overall. His hands are strong and he shows pretty good pop when it comes to engaging on offensive linemen. And he has some decent bend when it comes to rushing the passer. He's on the near side edge. He's on Lawrence Baptiste, who is, if you've watched any of this channel, you know how much I respect him as a player. He comes off the edge. You see that bolt of lightning off the end. Pulling player makes first contact with him. Wide, shoulder to shoulder. The pad level's a little bit high. He's able just to punch that ball out of Joe Crawford's hands and just shows the athletic prowess that he has to make this play. I don't think of any other European defensive ends who could really make a play as good as that. As a pure defensive end as well, I don't think there are many people that really match him athletically. He ran a 4.71, unofficial, but he ran a 4.71, and I wouldn't be surprised because he is a bobsledder. Big part of that, if you know about bobsledding, is the explosiveness off of the line being such a key aspect to the sport. He has 25 reps in the bench press, a 34.5-inch vertical. These are all coming from him as well, so take them how you like, but I don't think that he's lying here. I think that it tracks when you watch the tape. You can see how athletic he is as a player. His run stopping ability is also very underrated. He can play as a 3-4 defensive end, or he can go into a 4-3. He can stand up as a rush. He really is versatile across that defensive line. He can come inside and play on a guard. He can go outside and play on a tackle. So as far as underrated goes, he's definitely among my favourite players in the defensive end position. In terms of what he could improve on as a defensive end, I think his hand placement could be a little bit off. He also struggles with the grapple reset. Once he does second move, his go-to is a spin. He'll rip and then he'll spin out of it, which has had some successes. He has also had some failures because he turns his head away from the play and he can lose leverage on the offensive lineman. He can lose the gap, and he can also give up the edge. And twists and stunts also don't share that same explosiveness off of the snap. Quite often his lateral movement isn't as effective when it comes to this. It's effective when he's behind the line of scrimmage and he's in the backfield, but not as effective when he's on twists and stunts. I would like to see more of his bursts to close too. Like, he gets very close to a quarterback or a running back with the ball, and he just isn't able to hit that next gear to make the tackle. Also, I think the quarterback sometimes, or the ball carrier, get out of his tackles. Maybe I think he gets a bit overzealous with the tackle and just kind of slides off of them, doesn't wrap up fully as he's meant to. Overall, I'm extremely excited to see Dušan back. We only got 4 games of him in 2022, and then he went to the Swiss League, so for him coming back to Europe is a massive part for the Wrocław Panthers. You know, he comes from Serbia, so he is an e-import, but I think it's an e-import well spent. In my opinion, he starts over pretty much every European end, and I think most teams would enjoy having him as employment on their team. I think he would probably, in my opinion, honestly be a top 5 European defensive end. Generally just shows unbelievable potential. He's also only 26, so he could be a starting defensive end for the next 5-10 years for the Wrocław Panthers if they choose to go that route. I think just as a blend of his athletic ability and his experience within the team and experience within Europe and his refinement of his skills and just how much he's improved in the last 2-3 seasons, I just can't see him really not picking up where he left off. In those 4 games, he got 3 sacks. So I think this year, I can see him maybe being like Gustav, where last season, the Raiders, where he got 10 out of 11 games, he got a sack. I think that he would be able to enter into that conversation. He's not the biggest defensive end. He is about 6'2", 238, but he is 6'2", 38, and he's fucking built. So that was one of the knocks on him between some of his stuff. But once you actually start looking into him, you're like, okay, this guy's fucking Probably carries like 7% body fat at the very most, so he's just an absolute killer at 238, and he doesn't hold any fat that he doesn't need to. He could bulk up probably to like 260, 270 if he wanted to. He just has that twitchiness and athleticism that he doesn't really need to. Being a Serbian national bobsledder, you don't probably need as much fat, so kind of ties into that as well, I think. To see him back in the league is a really, really positive thing for the Wrocław Panthers. They needed that pass rush. They needed more of a dominant run stopper. Last season, they kind of had some defensive issues. This year, it's very clear that they want to address that because Vienna Vikings are there for the taking, to be honest with you. So, if they have someone to rush Ben Holmes, because that Vienna Vikings offensive line is disgustingly good. So, if they have someone just to take up something, send some blitzes, get Dušan maybe a double team, and try and get someone open up the middle or on the outside, great. Because they need a defense to compete in this conference. And they're going to need a defense if they meet Rhein or Munich or Frankfurt or Paris. Everyone's offense is loaded. So having a pass rusher like Dušan is imperative for their championship aspirations. That concludes us with this one. It's a little bit shorter than usual, but hopefully still high quality. Much appreciated. My first one outside of receivers and DBs, so I wanted to expand into defensive end. I have quite a lot of players I want to cover as well. Just these people don't get enough attention. Dušan is definitely one of them. So if you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, share it around. Much appreciated. Thank you. Goodbye.